Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. My goal with this podcast is to basically end all the silent suffering that's happening out there. The people that are sitting out there thinking that they're alone in this cold, dark world, and they just kind of feel like nobody else can understand them or can see what they're going through or understand what they're going through, or maybe they just have kind of lost hope or lost faith. And I know that that's a lot of people right now. I'm kind of freestyling this episode because I was just driving home from work thinking about this kind of topic right now, and I'm going to try my best to tie this into mental health because I think that this does really apply to mental health, but I'm just going to jump right into it. I've had a lot of friends of mine either delete social media altogether recently, or deactivate all their accounts recently, or just kind of have to take a break from being on social media. I've had other friends that just kind of are putting I guess not a halt, but maybe a pause on some of their side hustles. And I can completely understand why. Especially here in Canada, I'm going to speak to more like Canadian specific news. Sorry for any American listeners or viewers, but I guess this will kind of give you some confidence as well to the Americans I'm talking about. I guess this will give you some confidence knowing that your politics aren't the only ones that are fucked up. I think that looking around the world right now, different places from Australia to Italy to the US or here in Canada, a lot of shit is fucked up in terms of politics. And so I'm going to talk specifically to Canadian politics right now because that's what is more relevant to me and is really been on my mind a lot recently, and I know it's causing a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and probably a lot of other mixed emotions for a lot of other people. So I was just thinking about this on my drive home from work, so excuse me. I guess you can't smell me anyways, but I just got home from work and I wanted to make this episode really quick, right? So Canadian politics, if you haven't, heard, if you've been living under a rock, our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has called a snap election, and basically, sorry, I gotta preface this by saying I'm gonna try not to, talk about my own political views. I'm gonna try and cover this completely. Well, it won't be completely unbiased, but I'm gonna try and be as unbiased as possible. Anyway, so Justin Trudeau has called a snap election, midway through his term, which it's not uncalled for. It's happened quite a few times in our Canadian history up here. But essentially most people, I think Stephen Harper did it, who was the prime minister when I was a kid, but most people kind of view this as a power grab move. He had a minority government, and if you don't know what that is, just Google it, because I'm not going to try and start to explain our political system right now. But he had a minority government, and he's trying to get a majority government by the looks of, how it's been going down. And his opposition, if you've been living under the rock, then it's the NDP party led by Jagmeet Singh and Aaron O'Toole leading the Conservatives, who's been a lot more liberal than he was even expected to be. He's a pretty liberal conservative as is, but I guess, and then there's some other fringe parties on the side, but those are the three main contenders in our typical elections. And so there's a lot going on in this election as well. We have the overbearing, the one that everyone's talking about, the one that everyone's thinking about, and what's all over my Instagram page is the vaccine passports. We also got some gun laws trying to be, pushed through in muddy waters so that no one can see it. We've also got Bill C-10 and Bill C-36 coming down on free speech and, anti-hate speech, you could call it if you kind of want to view it that way. But that's probably going to be what cancels this fucking podcast before any of you can. Anyways, there's a lot riding on this election. And that's kind of the point. I'm trying not to be too political, but I'm trying to relate this back to mental health. And I swear to God, just bear with me and I will. But there's a lot riding on this election, and a lot of people right now, I've even had friends that have said they don't even want to have kids or think about having kids in a political climate like ours right now. And I mean, like I said, I can see exactly where they're coming from. There is a lot riding on this election, and things are pretty fucked up right now in our country. There's probably more division than I've ever seen in my lifetime. Maybe there's been more division in other times in Canada that have been, a lot more heated, but in terms of my own lifetime, my own perspective, and that is an anecdote, this is the most divided I've ever seen it. And I don't know if that's social media contributing to it, probably is, but I think that the mainstream media is contributing to the majority of it. And yeah, shit is pretty fucked up. I will be 100% honest. So why or how does this relate to mental health? Because, it's deeply impacting a lot of people. If you look at the suicide rates in Vancouver alone, I was speaking to a nurse that works in a psychiatric ward in VGH, and she was saying that suicide rates are up by over 800%, or suicide attempts are up by over 800%. And I know that some people have reached out to me talking about, Children's Health Phone and other crisis lines. Their calls are astronomically higher than they've ever been, I guess, recent years. And so a lot of people are getting stressed out. A lot of people are getting, their businesses foreclosed. Maybe they're having trouble, definitely, people are having trouble getting housing, finding housing, or having affordable housing. So there's a lot riding on this economically and also socially as well. And there's a lot of people that are being deeply impacted by this, with depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. And, it deeply hurts me. It concerns me as well because, and this is this is going to come across maybe, a little bit cold-hearted, but if you pick up a history book, you can kind of see the last 100 years on this earth, especially, have not been a walk in the park. Literally less than 100 years ago, there was Nazi internment camps. Less than 100 years ago, the Soviet Union, under the reign of communism and socialism, were killing, I think it was over 20 million of their own citizens due to starvation and, I guess, tons of other ways you can die horribly. And there's been tons of other atrocities that have happened politically and socially as well. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is the last 100 years on this earth worldwide have been completely fucked up. They haven't been all right. And so to think that it's just our lifetime that's dealing with, corruption in the government and hard times and economic depressions, it's kind of naive and it's kind of ignorant to think that we're the only generation that has to deal with this. And so I'm not trying to, I guess, muffle any of the voices, obviously, because that's what this podcast is about, is to talk about these things that we're thinking of, that we're dealing with. But what I am trying to say is, this is not unprecedented in terms of what humans have had to deal with in the last 100 years. And the point of me bringing this up is, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what are you going to do if so-and-so wins the election? Well, what are you going to do if this bill gets passed? Well, what are you going to do if this bill gets passed? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to tell you the same thing that I've been saying the last 2 years. No matter what fucking happens, with the U.S. election that happened last year, with, this entire pandemic going on, what am I going to do in terms of what am I going to do? Well, it's like, dude, I'm going to do the same fucking thing I've been doing for the last 2 years because I don't think that life is going to get any easier anytime soon. And so what is it that I've been doing is basically just working on my own shit. I've been grinding. I've been working in different jobs. I've had probably 2-3 different jobs in the last 2 years. I've had to move industries. And I've been working on this podcast, and I've just been working out and eating as best I can, taking care of my own health, taking care of the people around me the best I can, and trying to make sure that, my friends are doing all right. You kind of catch my drift? No matter what fucking happens, we have to keep working. We have to keep grinding. And we have to start to understand, this is kind of something that I guess has been on my mind as well. And, I made an episode about this long before the podcast ever existed back on my YouTube channel, and it actually caught a little bit of hate, but I'm just going to kind of start to say the same message again. There's going to be so many different people on so many different sides of every single spectrum, socially, politically, economically, etc. You have some people that are saying that this vaccine passport is going to get us out of the pandemic. You have other people saying that this vaccine passport is, the start of complete oppression, and I don't want to start to compare this to Nazi regimes, but that's what people are doing. You have people that are saying that, anyone that wears a mask is a sheep. You have other people saying that, if you don't wear a mask, you hate old people and you're trying to kill, people in society. On every single side of the platform, socially, politically, economically, etc., you have so many different people on every single, part of the spectrum. You have people that are extreme this way. You have people that are extreme that way. And at the end of the day, I'm speaking to Canadians here specifically, but we're all Canadian. It doesn't matter what your fucking views are, what your opinions are, what your religious beliefs are, what your gender is, who you fuck, who you marry, who you talk to, what you do for work, etc. Ever since I was a little kid, I understood that, and that's what they taught me in elementary school. And I don't know if they just stopped fucking teaching that to people or people just fucking forgot, but we're all Canadian, and we all have to get through this together. And so a lot of people are starting to see that we all have a similar problem right now, and we all seem to have our own idea on what solutions could be. But if we don't unite, and if we don't start to love each other and start to act with compassion instead of just acting to be fucking right all the time, we're fucked. We're done for. The only way that we get through this is if we unite as Canadians, not as fucking anti-vaxxers, not as pro-vaxxers, not as fucking anti-maskers or pro-maskers. And that's another thing I want to get off my mind as well, is like, why do we have to fucking label everybody everything? I had someone reach out to me recently because obviously I've been posting my own views on my Instagram page. I try not to talk about them on this podcast because this podcast is supposed to be about mental health and self-development, but this is what's been on my mind recently, so I'm just going to come out and start to say it. I've had some, I guess I should start by saying that I am pretty much, I'm fully fledged against this fucking passport vaccine mandate bullshit. I think that it's contributing to the division of society, and that's what I'm trying to get to right now, because I had somebody DM me last week on Instagram saying, look, I don't agree with your stances on the vaccine, but I really appreciate where you're coming from and how you express yourself. And my reply was simple. I haven't even talked about my own opinion of the vaccine. And people are labeling me anti-vax because I fucking don't like this mandate. Let me tell you something. I've fucking had tons of vaccines in my entire life. If you were to look back at my own medical history, then you'd see that I've had tons of fucking vaccines. But guess what? My medical history is between me and my fucking doctor. Not you, not my boss, not anybody I do business with, not anybody that listens to this podcast. It's between me and my fucking doctor. And if you have a fucking problem with that, take it up with our Constitution, because we have privacy laws. We can't even make people have vaccines, we can't even make people have, passport systems for being fucking child predators and pedophiles, because that is an infringement on their fucking privacy. So if we can't even know in our communities who pedophiles and child molesters are, why the fuck is it anyone's business about anyone else's medical history? That is completely unprecedented. But I'm not trying to fucking... God damn it, I started getting off on a tangent. But the reason I brought this up is because I have people labeling me as an anti-vaxxer when I'm just anti-mandate. And so we're so quick to judge people and assume their views without even asking them and start labeling them. And that is what's creating this division that I've been talking about. That's fucking tearing apart our society. I've got buddies whose family won't fucking see them or hang out with them because of their fucking vaccination status. I've got close friends of mine who, literally, their families are being torn apart. That is pure evil. And that is literally rooted in this division of society that we're seeing. And I've kind of got my own different ideas in terms of why this happens, because, I've talked about this before, because this is what happens when people root their identities into their own beliefs and opinions. When really your opinions and your beliefs and your ideas should be fluid. You shouldn't just cement yourself into one viewpoint, because new information comes out every single day. And so your views, your opinions, your beliefs, your ideas, they might change as well as this new information rolls out. And so if you cement your identity into something that ends up being wrong, then where does that leave you? Your identity's stripped, and then you're destroyed. We all know that when you have a lack of identity, then what happens? You also have a lack of purpose. And that's probably, in my personal opinion, again, this isn't a fact, but that's probably one of the main contributing factors to people dealing with depression and suicide and anxiety, is because they don't have identity and they don't have a purpose in their life, or they haven't found their purpose in life, I should say. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because, look, we have to quit fucking labeling people anti this or pro this. We have to stop fucking, arguing. Well, I guess arguing and debate is good because that's how we get to the truth, but we have to stop fucking hating each other. You can actually have a good fucking debate with somebody who you love and you want the best for them. And you might think that they're wrong, but you still think of them as somebody that you want the best for. You don't wish harm on them. You don't fucking label them. And you don't fucking start to hate them for the label that you've put on them. Because, look, it's not up for debate. That's fucking anti-Canadian. That's not a Canadian thing to do. Our nation, at least the way that I was educated on it, is founded upon compassion, acceptance, and not things like hatred and ignorance. We want to get to the truth. We want to get to the facts, and we want to get things right. We don't want to just jump to conclusions, label a bunch of shit, and fucking make yourself look right instead of getting to the fucking truth. Stop fucking labeling people. Stop fucking hating them for the label that you put on them because you've assumed their fucking views because of one thing that they've said. And no matter what fucking happens in this fucking Canadian election, it doesn't fucking matter, because the outcome is going to be the exact same. Life is not going to get fucking easier for you. You have to keep grinding, keep your fucking head up, keep hope and love and compassion in your heart, and keep fucking working towards something that's going to make your future better, something that's within your control, and control what you can control, right? Work on the things that are tangible, that are right in front of you. If you're unemployed right now, work on getting a fucking job. Don't jump on Instagram and Twitter and fucking Facebook and start shitting on the people that took your job away. Start fucking making more money. Start fucking, looking for a job and go out there and get it. For those of you that are out there thinking that this is the next Holocaust and the government corruption that we're dealing with is completely unprecedented and never seen before, I'm going to tell you this, like I said earlier on. There has been so much corruption, and there has been so many genocides or attempted genocides, tons of massacres done by governments in the past. This is not something that's brand new to humankind. This is something that we've seen before, and I'm going to remind you of one thing. If you truly think that this is the Nazi takeover, or I guess the socialist takeover, whatever fucking takeover you want to assume this is, just remember one thing. After the Nuremberg trials, after Nazi Germany had ended and fallen, fucking Nazi doctors were hung in the streets, and justice always prevails. So if you think that any of these changes are going to be permanent in our country, then it's up to you to go out and fucking vote and make your friends fucking vote for whatever cause you believe is going to get us out of this mess, because that's the only way that we can actually get out of it. We're not going to get out of it by bitching at each other on fucking social media. So it's time to fucking become an adult and go and fucking vote. And not only that, but no matter what the outcome of this election is, be compassionate to others, be accepting of others, be loving of others, want the best for others, and grind your fucking ass off with whatever goals and aspirations you have. And if you don't have any, then I'd say go and buy a fucking journal and start writing down everything that you're passionate about, the things that make you want to jump into conversations when you hear other people talking about it, or the things that you would just do for free or even pay to do, and start fucking doing them until you're good enough to get paid at it or to teach other people how to get paid at it, because that's a service in and of itself. So there's your fucking entrepreneurial lesson of the day. There's your mental health lesson of the day. I'm pissed off. I'm kind of, agitated because a lot of my friends are really fucking hurting right now. And I think, in my personal opinion, the reason, I guess the root of their hurt right now is the fucking division and the hatred in this country. And we have to fucking get our heads on straight and turn this shit around. So go out and fucking vote. Go out and be compassionate. Go out and be loving. And grind your fucking ass off. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. I love you all. I'm trying not to be pissed off at the end of this, but I am kind of pissed off. But I'm going to take a little sip of water here out of my mug. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for everybody that, supports this podcast. Everybody that's messaged me saying that, my content has helped them out, or, helped one of their friends, or just kind of helped them out by thinking that, no matter what it is that they're dealing with, they're not alone. Let me tell you this right now, and I'm looking the camera dead in the eye if you're listening to the podcast version of this when I say this to you. Life is going to be better. Life is beautiful already, but if you don't feel that way right now, life can and will get better for you. You just have to fucking put in the work, be compassionate, work your ass off. That's it. Those are the only two things that I've found in my past that have made me feel better. Those two things. Work your fucking ass off and love everybody and wish them the best. That's it. So be compassionate. Go out and work your ass off. I guess I'm beating a fucking dead horse at this point. But thank you so much for listening. I'm out of here. I'm going to go do a workout. Peace out, bitches.